We often think of architecture as a forward motion, a pursuit what's new, sleek, and untouched. But what if the answers to the future are already around us, in the walls we pass every day? What if preservation wasn't a constraint, but a kind of a design wisdom? Preservation isn't just about saving buildings, it's about carrying memory and meaning forward. Our hypothesis is simple. If we design with what still stands, we don't just preserve, we innovative. Can we build in a way that remembers? Can we listen to the past and move forward with it? I started walking through the neighborhood again, not to get somewhere, but just to notice that the morning light falls across the old roof, casting long shadows, the kind that feel familiar, even if you have never been here before. Children passed by running down the sidewalk, laughing. Their joy echoed of the bricks bouncing between the history and now. It reminded me that the building does not age, they absorb, they listen. Some houses looked worn, but each crack, each corner seemed to hold a memory of routineness, of seasons, of someone's everyday life. And I wondered why we always so quick to replace what remembers us. The detail stood out to me: an archway, a patch of a sunlight stone, the way vines crawled around the doorway, all of it whispered that I'm still here, I still mean something. Then I looked across the street, tall grasses, towers reflecting the sky, clean, impressive, but blank. They hadn't lived yet, they hadn't witnessed, they hadn't felt so echo of names called from the balconies or footsteps wounds into the steps. And then, when the question landed, what if the building could remember? What if it designed not to erase but to carry something forward, a shape, a feeling, or a story still unfolding? There used to be an old structure here. I remember walking it by every day on my way to the class, but its brick were worn, the window was dusty, but it had a presence, like it remembered each time you have passed. People talk about progress, about efficiency, about making space, but when we clear away the old buildings, we clear away the rhythms of memory, the spaces where people gathered, where laughter echoed, where community was formed. It made me wonder, what if preservation isn't about stopping change? What if it's about guiding it? Could those old blueprints and aging walls actually tell us something worth listening to? Maybe the things we think of as its limits, like old codes and outdated materials, are actually clues. They show us how buildings once cared for people, how they were adapted, held warmth, and carried the life. This is where our research began, not with the blank space, but with the simple question: what if we didn't erase everything? What if we designed with the memory in mind and let the past carry it forward into the future? All of this raised a question: what does it actually look like to design with memory? To not erase, but renew. That led me to one real example, but a place where the past wasn't demolished, but reimagined. Let me take you to the River House. River House had a history in its walls, the kind you see and feel, but it was aging. Worn bricks, dim corridors, and a quiet courtyard that once brought people together had faded into the stillness. The architects didn't start over, they listened. They let the building guide the changes. With more light, better comfort, new access, the space became usable again, but stayed familiar. Now it's live again. Students gather in the courtyard, light fills the halls, the space feels like it remembers. One student said, it's like the place you know who lives there. After seeing the design changes firsthand, I wanted to hear directly from the people who lived there. So I spoke with a few residents about what preservation means to them and how it feels to live in a space that remembers. Their stories were honest, thoughtful, and surprisingly emotional. Here's what they shared.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a huge difference. Like it's like day and night difference. Before renovation, the building felt like kind of neglected and not much in use. That was what I felt. But yeah, even though it was functional for sure, but somewhere you would spend more time than necessarily outside, and because you felt cold, just not the temperature, but like emotionally too. You don't feel attached. You just come home, do whatever you would like, and you had to do, and then leave again. Now, entire atmosphere has shifted. The lighting is warmer, and it makes such a difference. It actually feels like home, cozy and welcoming. The rooms feel more connected throughout design, and the shared spaces look more comfortable. I avoid them, but now I used to avoid them actually. And now I find myself sitting in the lounge with a book or chatting with the neighbors. It feels like, the building is inviting you to slow down and be present. That's something I didn't expect it as if when I, just started living in the building, but I really appreciate after the renovation, it has changed a lot. So I enjoy living right now. I love being at home, and yeah, it's a good experience after renovation.
As I listened to what residents remembered, the corners they loved, the routines they missed, I realized something deeper has happening. So this building don't just hold the structure, they hold the identity. And what we choose to preserve, we are not just saving the walls, we are saving ways of life. This is really about memory as material. There is something powerful about watching people walk by the same walls their parents and grandparents did. Some pause, some point, tell story because the space remember with them. These buildings aren't frozen in time, they have evolved. But when we erase too much, we also erase belonging. When we fold the past into the present, people don't just use the space, they feel as they say it. So, preservation isn't about freezing time, it's about carrying it forward. When we preserve memory in design, we preserve conditions, identity, and care. We are standing at a choice point. We can keep clearing the past way, or we can build forward with the memory in mind. Not to freeze time, but to carry it forward. Because when we treat heritage as a beginning, not an obstacle, something powerful happens. We make space for both memory and imagination. We invite the past to walk beside us as we shape the future. Innovation doesn't always begin in silence. Sometimes it begins in listening. And maybe the future we are chasing is already under our feet, hiding in the bricks, the corners, and the echoes. We just have to look it closely enough. After all these stories, places, and memories, one thing became clear. Preservation isn't about holding on to the past, it's about building a future that remembers. A future where design carries care, not just a form. Where innovation and memory work together, not against each other. That's the kind of architecture I believe.